Hi, and welcome to another edition of Ian Wallace at seekingchange.co.uk. Um, I was looking at some workshops that I was putting together for next year, and I was looking at some of the subject matter that I was going to put across. And one of them in particular was involving people who had been through domestic violence and abuse. And I thought it might be a good idea just to kind of reiterate some of the points from the book with control and manipulation, and off the website with the info that I've given. And I just thought maybe coming up to this time of year, where the preference for abuse is hidden and secret in a lot of ways, and it's the secretiveness that keeps it going. And I was kind of looking at how people escape and how people get to a point where they um, detach from that life, detach from that process. And with the process that people get into, it takes on average, they reckon, about 18 times to leave an abusive relationship. And that's an average. So people keep going back and back and back. And a lot of the time it's so that they believe the abuser controller makes them believe that they can save the person that's controlling or abusing them. They can make a difference. They can be the one person in the world that changes that person. But countless times they've let them down and it hasn't happened. So it would suggest that that's not going to happen. And when you pull yourself away from that relationship and you find yourself in a place where you're starting to move forward in your life and you're starting to get into a new life, new structures, new relationships, whatever it is that you get into, it's sometimes really hard to pull yourself away from that relationship if it presents itself again, i.e. if they get in touch and get in contact. And that, for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense as to why would you want to be in that abusive relationship once you've escaped from it. But the relationship itself can be very comfortable in the sense that we know it, we understand it, we've had it as part of our life for probably a vast amount of time. And so there's a lot of comfort in that process instead of the scary stuff where people might be nice to us and might not treat us with abusive processes. And that can be a really scary place sometimes. And a lot of people find themselves on the edge of pulling away completely, getting into divorce, going into refuge, all sorts of things where people have to escape, and sometimes very dramatically, whereby they find themselves hankering back to the old life that they had. Not that they want to be abused, but they find it very hard to pull away from that process because of the normality of it and the comfort of it. And sometimes, as people have said to me in the past, anybody who likes me is better than nobody, even if that person is abusive. Which takes a while for you to understand, but once you've worked with abuse over the many years I have, then those things actually make sense. But for most people, they don't. And so it's a really hard thing to break away from, but one that you do need to break away from, because an abusive relationship is not a relationship to be in. So when you're trying to pull yourself away from it, or you know people who are trying to pull away from it, just realise sometimes that they will fall down and they will go back and they will kind of have to make that process again and start building up their courage, building up their strength to detach again. But the more they do it, the more they're likely to be able to actually complete it and come out the other side. And that's why they need support that isn't critical, isn't saying you've done this again, why do you keep doing this? It's support that says, okay, there's been a blip and yeah, it's how it is. Let's see whether or not we can move forward again and connect again with people outside of that relationship. So if anybody's going through that, or if anybody knows anybody that's going through that, try and give them a bit of space and give them a bit of time to kind of get through the process of that blip and then come out the other side. Generally speaking, they will want to escape again and they'll need to know somebody's there for them. But it can be quite frustrating sometimes. So if you're in that process, then try and gain the strength and courage to understand that the abuser usually never changes, because if they had done or would done, they would have done so by now. And no matter how much they promise you the things, they never deliver. Words are one thing, actions are another. So look at the actions, not the words. And if the actions show that the words are real, then obviously that's more comforting. But the one thing you need to know is that if people will not be responsible for their actions, then the likelihood is they won't change. Take care, look after yourselves, and have the lives you should have, not the ones other people think you should have.